Hello, y'all. So anyways, I recently subscribed to Mr. Can, and he's funny. I like him. His wife's funny too. I like the laundry stories. I'll watch those. So, if you don't know him, or you haven't seen him, or you're not subscribed, and you'd like to be, I'll try to put his link over there if I can remember. He has ghost stories. He has, well, he calls them paranormal. I don't know if ghost is the proper term. I don't really know if proper terms matter. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But he's had some weird things happen. I'm not going to go into detail about his ghost stories because there's no point. If you want to watch them, they're on his page. They're really good though. If you like that sort of thing, they're kind of freaky. So he inspired. I've had quite a few ghostly experiences in my life since I was 4. The first one was when I was 4. Probably the most strangest to me, anyways. They're all strange, but to me it's just creepier because it was a child. I was a child. I had an imaginary friend, and I talked to him every day for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was in the bathroom one day, and we lived in an old farmhouse that was built like 200 or 300 years ago. It had been remodeled several times. My great-grandfather owned it, and we lived there. We didn't live there for long when I started talking to my imaginary friend. But I'd had them, you know, before, so my mom didn't think anything of it. One day she walked in the bathroom, and I was sitting behind the bathroom door, facing the wall, talking. And she heard me talking, and she came in the bathroom, and she said, "Mindy, who are you talking to?" And I told her my friend, and she said, "Hey, who's your friend, you know?" And I said, "Mr. Johnson," and she said, "Oh." She said, "Well, you know, tell me about Mr. Johnson." I mean, she thought, you know, she was playing along with my imaginary friend. And I started telling her all this stuff, like, just really, really detailed, you know, about his clothing and the way he talked and his name and, you know, his appearance and his hobbies. I mean, you know, I was just talking about him like I knew him. I mean, like he was a real person that I knew. And, you know, kind of freaked my mom out that I knew so much about, you know, a fake person, you know, things that a 4-year-old child might not know to make up, you know. So, she was telling my grandpa about it the next day. It kind of freaked me out, you know, that she knew so much of, you know, that she could imagine so much, you know, she's 4. And my grandpa was like, well, she probably knows so much because she didn't imagine it. And of course, then my mom was like, what are you talking about? And he told her that 3 years before we moved into that house, there was an old couple that had lived there, a man and wife, and that the man had died in the house of natural causes, and the wife, old age I guess, and the wife was in a nursing home. She's still living. And he said his name was Mr. Johnson, and he was telling, you know, Mom, everything that I said about the guy was, like, real, like the way he dressed and the way he talked and things he liked to do and, you know, whatever. So my mom was really freaked out. And I talked to this old man for weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally one day I just quit talking to him. Not because I didn't want to talk to him, but I guess he wasn't there anymore. The freakiest thing about the whole story is that I don't remember it. Now, granted, I was 4 years old, and I know people forget things from their childhood, but I remember things from before that, and I remember things from after that, and I have a very clear memory. I mean, I remember my childhood extremely well, and I don't remember that. I don't remember it all. I don't remember any of it. So, that's really, really weird. We also had, and I don't know if this Mr. Johnson ghost was the same ghost or if there were different ones. Maybe he passed to the next world or level or heaven or whatever you believe in, I don't know. but it might have been him, it might have been different ones. I mean, this house had been here for a long time, and they say that, you know, spirits cling to environment, you know, their environment sometimes if they can't leave the earth or whatever. So these might have been ghosts from previous times, or it might have been the same man, I don't know. But I figure if it was the same person, I probably would have kept talking to him. I mean, I talked to him before. It's odd, and it's not really something that I can explain. So I just say the ghost, because I don't know who it was. They were moving things around in the house. And nobody was home, and nobody had, you know, any reason to be in our house. We would come home from school, and my mom would come home from work in the afternoons, and our living room would be completely rearranged. The furniture would be, you know, different places in the room. The decorations on the, you know, knickknacks or whatever would be completely rearranged. The pictures hanging on the walls would be, you know, hanging, you know, they'd be switched out, hanging in different places and whatnot. That was the weird part. And also the fact that I still have them, but I don't really collect them anymore. But as a child, little girls that collected the porcelain dolls, I liked them, but my mom let me play with mine. See, a lot of little kids don't get to play with theirs, so they just sit on a shelf all the time and stare at them, and it scares them. I played with mine like they were baby dolls. So they didn't scare me, but I did have a shelf, and they had stands, and when I wasn't playing with them, they were on their stands. And I came home from school one day, and all of my dolls were laying on my bed, and their stands were on the shelf. And doesn't make sense. How the hell did they get off the stands? It wasn't like they fell. Well, the shelf wasn't really where they could have fallen and landed on the bed in a line the way they were. Unexplainable, I guess. Just weird things. The water faucets in the bathroom and the kitchen would come on simultaneously, all of them, at the same time, and it would be full blast water pressure, and then they would just shut off. And they would continue to do that, you know, turn off and on for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they would just stop. And then when you would go to turn the water on, we lived in an old house, so the bathtub was a claw tub, and it had old knobs, and the knobs would be so tight you would have to get pliers to turn the water on. The TV would go off and on by itself, volume would go up and down, channels would go back and forth, the VCR would spit tapes out just at random, things that you couldn't explain. Of course, my mom tried to, you know. Well, I must have tightened the knob too tight last time I took a bath. Well, Mom, you know, you're not that strong. But, you know, she never would say that. Or maybe the TV just messed up, you know. We've had it for a while. Well, we get a new TV and it still does it. It's an old house, and old houses make noises. Yeah, but some noises an old house can't make. I mean, you know, my mom, she's not scared of ghosts. It's not that she doesn't believe in them. I think it just freaked her out that she was actually living in a house with, you know, spirits present or whatever, you know, paranormal feelings. She knew they were there, but she didn't want to admit it. They weren't mean. They never tried to scare us. I mean, I guess that kind of stuff is a little freaky, but it's not scary, you know. It doesn't make you scream and shake. They never tried to kill us or anything like that. They never tried to push us away from the house. I think they just wanted us to know they were there. Anyways, that was my childhood. I lived in that house for 6 years, and it did. I mean, they did that the whole time. So, you know, you get used to it after a while. If it was scary, it'd be different, but it was just, I don't know. You got used to it, I guess. Bam.